Hello guys! Today we are going to be learning the 12 tenses for beginners. So let's begin this lesson on tenses. Also, please make sure to like and subscribe. Past, present, and future. So you might know that in English there are three main tenses: past, present, and future. But in total, there are 12. But they all link with each other. And today, that is exactly what we're going to be learning. So we're going to be learning all the different types of tenses, but in a much simpler way. So when you finish the video, you definitely know what these 12 tenses mean. So now I'm going to show you all the tenses so you actually know what the tenses are. So we've got for past, past indefinite, which is also known as past simple. Then we've got past perfect, past continuous, and past perfect continuous. Now these are all the four tenses for past. Now let's move on to present. We've got present indefinite, also known as present simple, present perfect, present continuous, and present perfect continuous. These are all the four tenses for present. Let's move on. We've got future indefinite, also known as future simple, future perfect, future continuous, and future perfect continuous. Now, these are all the 12 tenses, and you need to know them. So let's start this lesson. First of all, we are going to be at the definitions of each of these tenses. So let's begin. Okay, so our first tense is past simple or past indefinite tense. So we're going to be looking at a simple example and definition of this tense. So let's see. So, past indefinite indicates that the action described in a sentence has happened before and is not a current happening. So for example, she watched television. So this example indicates that the action of watching was an event of the past. So, past indefinite means like an action described in a sentence that has happened in the past and is not a current happening. For example, she ate her dinner or she watched her television. Well done. Let's move on. Okay, so this is our second tense, past perfect. Now let's see what this tense means. So, the past perfect tense is a verb form used to refer to a past action that occurred before another past action. So, occurred means happened. If you don't know what occurred means, it's fine. It means happened. So, refer to a past action that happened before another past action. The past perfect is formed using had along with the past participle of the main verb. For example, I had run. So, the past perfect is formed using had along with the past participle of the main verb. For example, I had run, I had swam, I had ate, I had slept, and many other examples. So let's move on to the next tense. Past continuous. Let's find out what past continuous is. So, the past continuous shows us that the action was already in progress at a certain time in the past. For example, what were you doing at 8 p.m. last night? I was studying. So basically, the past continuous shows us that the action was already happening at a certain time in the past. So for example, what were you doing at 8 p.m. last night? I was studying. Perfect. Now the past perfect continuous. Let's see what this one means. So, this is a big definition. Let's read it together and break down any words you don't know what it means. So the past perfect continuous tense is generally used in a sentence to show an action that started at some time in the past and continued until a specific time in the past. So generally means like normally. So like casually. Right, let's carry on. It is also called the past perfect progressive tense since it refers to an action that had been progressing until a certain point in the past. So progressing means like continuing. We use the past perfect continuous to show that an event or action in the past was continuing. For example, the builders had put up the scaffolding around the house. So basically, the past perfect continuous tense is normally used in a sentence to show an action that started at some point in the past and continued until a specific time in the past. So obviously, for example, the builders had put up the scaffolding around the house. Amazing. Let's continue. Okay, we're going to be moving on to our next main tense, the present. So, the present simple and the present indefinite. Remember, simple and indefinite are the same tense. Present simple, present indefinite. They're both the same. So please do not get confused when I say present simple or present indefinite, because I promise you they are the same. So, the simple or indefinite present tense is when you use a verb to tell about things that happen continually in the present, like every day, every week, or every month. So we use the simple present tense for anything that happened often or is factual. So factual means like real, reliable, because it contains facts. For example, I wake up in the morning. So, the simple present tense is when you use a verb to tell about things that happen regularly in the present, like every day, every week, or every month. So, for example, I wake up in the morning. I brush my teeth in the morning and in the night. I eat lunch. Okay, now let's move on to the present perfect. So, the present perfect is used to describe actions or states that have recently happened or that started in the past and continue to the present. For example, I have worked as a teacher for 2 years. So, in simple words, it means that the present perfect is used to describe actions or doings that have recently happened in the past and continue in the present. So obviously, for example, I have worked as a teacher for 2 years. Amazing. Now, let's move on to the present continuous. So, the present continuous describes an action that is going on at this moment. For example, you are using the internet. You are studying English grammar. The present continuous tense, as the name suggests, is the form of tense that is used to point out an action that is happening in that current moment. It is also known as the present progressive tense, as they represent the action that is progressing in the present. So, in simple words, it is a tense that describes an action that is happening right now. So basically at the current time. So obviously, for example, you are using the internet, or you are studying English grammar, or you are watching my video. You are learning tenses. Amazing. Let's move on to the present perfect continuous. So the present perfect continuous tense, on the other hand, is used to show an action or event that started in the recent past and is continuing at the time when the speaker is referring to it. So, for example, it had been raining a lot for the past 2 hours. So basically, the present perfect continuous tense is used to show an action that has started in the recent or early past and is obviously continuing at the time when the person is talking about it or referring to it. So obviously, for example, it had been raining a lot for the past 2 hours. Well done. Okay, now we're going to move on to a different tense called the future tense. So let's look at a more specific one, the future indefinite tense, also known as the simple. So in grammar, the future simple tense is the verb form you can use to talk about things that haven't happened yet. When you say the party will be so fun, will be is in the future tense. Whenever you write or talk about things that you expect to happen later, you use the future simple tense. So, in simple words, it is the verb form you use to talk about things that haven't really happened yet, but you say it will. So, like in the future, it will happen. So, like if I said I was going to attend a party, and I said the party will be so fun. The will be is in the future tense because we don't know, but we are saying that because it's a party, we can infer that it's going to be fun. Amazing. Let's move on to the future perfect. So we use the future perfect tense, which contains will, won't, have, and past participle to talk about something that will be completed before a specific time in the future. So, for example, the guests are coming at 8 p.m. I'll have cooking finished by then. Okay, so it is basically saying, in simple words, that this tense is used to talk about something that will be completed before a specific time in the future. So basically, if I said, oh, so the guests are coming at 8 p.m., I'll have finished cooking by then. Amazing. Okay, let's move on to the future continuous tense. So the future continuous tense is a verb tense that shows an action happening over a period of time in the future. So, for example, I will be dancing all night is an example of the future continuous tense, as it indicates an action continuing over a specific future period of time. So, if you don't know what indicates means, it means like shows or highlights or like suggest, but it more likely means like to show, convey, portray, those type of words. So show. So it shows an action continuing over a specific future period of time. Amazing. Also, in simple words, it is it's a future continuous tense is a verb tense that shows an action happening over a specific period of time in the future. So, for example, I will be dancing all night. Okay, let's move on to future perfect continuous. Let's find out what this tense is. So, it is the activity will have begun sometime in the past, the present, or in the future, and is expected to continue in the future. For example, in November, I will have been working at my company for 3 years. So this tense is basically saying that it is an activity that has begun at it could be like it has begun at the past or the present or in the future, but it is expected to continue in the future. So it might have started at the past or the present or in the future, but it is expected to continue in the future. So it should. So obviously, for example, in November, I will have been working at my company for 3 years. Amazing. Okay, now we are going to have a closer look at some more examples on the tenses. So let's have a better look. So first, let's look at the past. So we've got the past indefinite, also known as the simple. We've got the past perfect, the past continuous,